Wow, here comes the next series. It's gonna be an interesting one. If you've been following from part 1, part 2, now I think we are almost in part 7. I think so. So the girls, definitely after some time, they learned how to sleep on the bed. So during the first days of being with these girls, we had to literally teach them so many things, make them unlearn so many habits and characteristics of the life they lived in the slum. Things like even just chewing. You know, they would chew like, they're chewing. They would chew until you see what is in their mouth, because that's how they knew it. So we would train them. Don't put a lot of food in your mouth that is too much until your mouth is like overflowing. Just bite a little, and then don't chew like, just chew slowly. Just chew slowly. No hurry in Africa. Just chew slowly. Don't make noise when you're chewing. Don't make noise. That noise is not good. And we would teach them such small things. Such small things that you take for granted is what would teach these girls. I remember there is one time I'm just in the house and they're just playing with one another. And just because they are kids and they're being kids, when they would get agitated with one another, just like our own kids would do, if they want to call this other one a name, they would call a lot of F words in Swahili. F words. I'm like, and I would call them and ask them, who has called their sister like that? Who told you to call your sister the F word? Why are you using that vulgar language? But remember, back in the slum, vulgar language was their daily way of communicating and of talking. So it is me now to come in as a mother and tell them, that word, don't use it again. That language, I don't want to hear it again. Until I remember one day they went out and they were playing with the others, and they're there jumping, and they would, like, the big one had really gotten stuck with that slum language, those abusive words and bad language and vulgar language. And she would just hold herself like this when she's agitated, playing with others outside there, now the other people's kids outside there, and she would call them every word, until one day the security of where I used to stay just called me and told me, are you the mother of these kids? Yes. You know what, I will stop your kids from playing with the others because they are abusing them so badly, and the kids are always crying and reporting to their mothers, and their mothers are coming to ask the security whose kids are these, because they are new faces. Hey, so I had a lot of training to do, but God is faithful. Today they are beyond that. So fast forward, now after the 28 days and the preps medications are finished, I get into a serious confusion. I'm like, should I let these girls go? Where will they go? And then there were a lot of things happening. This one I don't know how to tell, because there were a lot of interested parties that would really hurry me to take the kids to the children's home, and they could not understand actually why am I staying with the kids for this long. And I had to shield the kids and battle their battles, and just tell everybody, keep off these kids. I'm the one staying with them. I'm the one who knows their pain and their traumas. I'm the one who is understanding why I'm not rushing into taking them to a children's home. Let's give them time, give them space. They're in my house, not in your house. They're eating my food, not your food. And just leave the girls alone. I will decide when they want to go to the children's home. And it was not easy. I don't want to go so much into that because I don't want those parties involved in this story. It's a story for another day that was a bit nasty, that made me fight unnecessary battles in the interest of securing these girls, and it was not good for me psychologically. It really affected me, But I don't know what is that force that was holding me from letting these girls go. So now the girl had finished her preps medication, and we started having a conversation as a family, me, my daughter Abigail, and our house manager, plus the girls. And now we agreed, you know what, we are going to let you go to a children's home, but we shall be coming to visit you. We shall be bringing you clothes and shoes and all that, blah blah and all that. Trust you me, anytime I would have a conversation with these girls and make a decision in my mind that yes, they are going to a children's home, when I go to my bedroom alone, I would not sleep. I would toss and toss and toss in bed and get troubled about these girls. I would get so troubled about them. I would feel, I don't know, I would ask myself so many questions. What if I take them there and things happen like this? And then I had been told, because all of them, the three girls, their sisters, their siblings, they cannot be taken to one children's home. So I was now fighting in my mind. I'm like, if I take them to different children's home, how about if they lose touch with one another forever? How will they ever come back together? How will they find each other together? Will they ever go to school? Who will they be calling mommy? Will they be eating enough? Here they're used to eating a balanced diet. How will life be? And I would toss in bed and think, and I would get so troubled about the girls. And remember, by this time, now we are literally not going to work. So financially, I'm suffering. I'm a single mother. I'm alone. I'm raising up now 4 kids alone. I am suffering. My pocket has started depreciating. I remember it, at some point it was so bad, I would tell my house manager, when I buy 1 packet of milk, you divide it into 2, so that half of it we cook tea with it today and half of it we cook tea tomorrow. It had gotten to that. It was so bad. So economically, it is making sense that I should take these kids away to a home or somewhere, so that it can be a little bit easy for me. And now that is where now I say, that's a time when I lost a lot of my friends, because as much as I'm not understanding myself and what I'm doing, also people would not understand, what are you doing? My family members would not understand, what are you bringing yourself into? It's COVID time. Economically, everybody is crying. You are adding yourself a budget of 3 more kids. You don't have a husband. You're not going to work. How are you going to cope with this? And most of them would come in goodwill to advise me on letting the girls go. Then I don't know what would make me hold so much on to the girls. I feel in my head, I am feeling they should go. In my heart, I'm not able to let them go. I've never been able to explain that. I'm looking for a day when I'll be able to explain that, because I say, when God is putting you into something, sometimes you lack words to explain it. At times it would be so bad, and I would go to my friends for financial help, and they would literally tell me to my face, I'm not helping you. You brought this burden to yourself. Take away the girls out of your home. Let us now handle you as you and your daughter alone. We cannot help you, and you're helping others, and yourself you're not able. You know, it was... So I got now into a space whereby my friends are not understanding me. Also, the family members are not understanding me. I'm faced with the responsibility to shield and protect these girls from rejection, because they are girls who had gone through so much trauma. So I'm facing the thing of being pushed away by friends. I'm facing the thing of shielding and protecting these girls. I am battling so many things at the same time alone. It was a whole confusion, but God gave me the grace to do it and just take care of the girls, and I thank God this far. So we stayed with the girls, and that continued for some time. The back and forth of tossing in bed anytime I decide they are going, and not once, not twice, not thrice that I have made a decision. I said, I'm giving, in 3 days, I'll be ready. I'll be psychologically ready. I psych myself up. And in 3 days, I'll be ready to say goodbye to these girls. And then I would call my daughter and our house manager, and I would tell them, put the girls' things in one place. In 3 days, we are going to get them our children's home. And funny enough, another thing I've never been able to explain up to today. Anytime I would have that conversation with my daughter and the house manager on how to put the things ready for the girls and get ready to say goodbye, my own daughter and the house manager would ask me, but Mama Abi, is it a must for these girls to go? And then my daughter would back it up and say, yeah, Mommy, why should they go? Can't they stay with us for another 2 days? Just give them another 1 week. Just give them another few days. And I'm like, I thought even my daughter is the one who should be complaining that their house is now crowded and with so many people. But apparently she's the one who is against the girls going. So one day I decided I want to taste whether my daughter really means it. When she says that she wants me not to take the girls away, does she really mean it? And I tested her. So one morning she was going to school, and then as I was preparing her to go to school, I told her, Abigail, I have a plan. I think we should take these girls to now my mom, Abigail's grandmother, up country. They'll be schooling there. They'll be staying there with grandma. And then when schools close, they'll be coming to visit us here in Nairobi. So we'll be sending them food, send school fees, send support to the grandmother. But when they close school, they can be coming to stay with us, so that at least during the school time, it is just you and me in our home like it used to be. I expected an instant answer. Like I expected my daughter to be like, yay, Mommy, you are the best. That's the best decision. I love it. Let's do it. But to my shock, my daughter was like, Mom, let me go to school, but I'll come and give you the answer to that. I was like, that's not what I expected. But anyway, I told her it's okay. She went to school. And by this time, the girls have not enrolled, because remember, I'm dealing with kids who've never been to school, and I'm also not very clear that they should stay. So my daughter went to school, and 2 days passed by, 3 days passed by. She has not given me a response, and I came back to her. I asked her, Abigail, you've not given me a response. What was your answer? Should I take the girls to stay with the grandmother so that me and you can be left to stay here and continue with our normal uninterrupted life? And then shock on me on what my daughter told me. My daughter told me, Mom, I have been praying about it, and you will not love what I will tell you. And I'm like, and then she's shaking. She's afraid to tell me. She's not very clear about how she's telling me. And then I'm like, no, you tell me, I'll not get annoyed. What is it? And then she told me, Mom, you know what? I've been praying about it, and God gave me a question to ask you. Then I'm like, what's the question, Abigail? My daughter told me, God told me to ask you whether in my lifetime there is a time you've had it so rough until you took me to stay with grandma. I told her, but Abigail, how can I take you to stay with grandma? You are my daughter. You cannot be away from me. Even if it's so tough and rough, you cannot be away from me. And then she told me, you see, Mom, I told you you'll not be happy with what I'll tell you. I told her, I'm still not getting you. We are not talking about you. We are talking about the girls. And she told me, yeah, exactly. God has told me to tell you that same way you would not take me to stay with grandma because economically things are bad, you should also not send away my sisters. She used the word my sisters. You should not send away my sisters to stay with my grandmother. Let them stay with us. God will see the struggles and God will provide. I didn't know what to tell my daughter. I didn't know how to answer that. And I was like, oh, I wanted to test my daughter and know if she's really comfortable being with these kids in the house. Because by this time, even I'm facing a lot of blame from my friends. They are telling me, Gladys, you have no idea of the damage you're doing to your daughter. Your daughter will get stressed. Your daughter will get depressed. Why are you adding these kids? Your daughter was not using to having other people in their space. You have to mind about your daughter. Until at some point I bought into their idea and I'm like, hey, let me be sure that this thing is a healthy one for my daughter. So that's why I came up with that plan to test my daughter. And the response she gave me was like, my daughter is okay with it. So what should I do? Should I listen to my friends? Should I do what my daughter is telling me? You know, I used to live in a state of confusion at all the time. Anyway, so all said and done, I decided to listen to my daughter and I said, let the girls stay for some time. All this time I'm saying, let them stay for some time longer. So we stayed with them for some time, and all this time it has not clicked to me that I should be the foster mother of these kids. I started taking the girls to the counseling, the big one who had gone through the trauma of being molested by the father. I started getting her the therapies, taking her to therapies and all that. And it was so funny because during the therapy I also learned a lot of things. I also learned, I like one interesting thing that I learned is that this girl was a parentified child. So I was like, what's a parentified child? And I was told, because this one came about when I went to the therapist, and I told the therapist, when I'm not in the house, the girl is troubling everybody else in the house. She wants to command everybody, she wants to take charge and all that. And my daughter and my house manager are not comfortable with that at times. And the therapist broke it down to me to understand it, that this child, when I am in the house, because when I'm in the house she's the best, she behaves well, she responds well, everything is okay with her. So when I'm told that when I go she becomes unruly and commanding to others and all that, and wanted to take charge when I'm not in the house, the therapist told me it's because this girl is a parentified child. Anytime you are in the house, her system picks it that the senior mom is in the house, the senior authority is in the house, and so my parenthood should submit to the senior parent in the house. And she complies and she's a good girl and all that. But the minute you step out, the parent in her, the mommy in her comes out and wants to take charge. So the mommy in her doesn't understand how is it she's the one being told to do this and this and that. And the mommy in her was used to telling people, do this and this and this and that. She was the one who was used to being in charge, taking control, commanding people and telling people what to do. So that's where there was a commotion a little bit of not the senior people in my house, that is my daughter and the house manager, are not understanding this. Even her, she does not understand what she's doing. It is just her system subconsciously responding to a situation. It's not that she has planned that now the mother in me has to come out. No, it just subconsciously comes, automatically comes, and she gets herself like that. So I was made to understand that, and it really helped, because the next session I was told to go with my daughter and our house manager for the session, and they were given a small talk by the therapist. They were also made to understand what it means to be with a child who is a parentified child, and how to handle it and how to go about it. And it actually made a lot of peace and harmony, and so that one really helped. And the time of taking that girl to therapist had such a big impact in her life and also in our lives, because at times we would go for sessions as a family. I would go with everybody. So the therapist really assisted the girl to heal, helped her to know helped us to know how to handle her, especially me, how to handle her, helped us to understand these three girls, where they are coming from, the torture, the trauma, the impact of all that, how do we handle them and all that. And I felt that that was good. Another interesting thing that happened during the counseling sessions, because now we were dealing with child therapists. I remember one day I took the girl and she entered the therapy room. And if you've ever taken a child for a child therapy, you know they have those baby child rooms. They have everything. They have toys. They have the playing things, everything to play around there. It's a baby world. So when the girl went, the first thing she took, you know, the first thing she grabbed was a doll that was naked without clothes. She took the doll and she held her very tight. And then I asked the therapist, does that mean anything? There are so many things here. A child can pick on anything. And then the therapist told me, we have intentionally put this baby playing toys and items here because sometimes when the child comes in and picks a certain item, that is what the child is identifying with. Now my child, because is a vulnerable child that has gone through a lot of vulnerability, she took this doll that was not clothed because that is the vulnerability she would identify with. That is one thing that the therapist noticed, and they handled it very well. And the other thing is that during the sessions, there was a session for the therapist helping the girl understand what the daddy did to her. And at some point the therapist asked the girl, what do you feel about what daddy did to you? And she started crying, and it was very emotional. And the therapist was like, what would you do to your daddy if he's brought here? What would you do to him? And then the girl was like, I would beat daddy and beat him and beat him and beat him until he feels the pain I feel. So the therapist took the girl outside the compound. There were trees. They went and they cut some sticks, and they came back to the therapy room. And then the therapist took one big teddy bear and put it down there on the floor, and then gave them the stick to my daughter, my foster daughter. And then she told her there were three sticks, and then she was told, beat daddy. And now let's assume this teddy bear is daddy. Beat daddy until he feels the pain you want him to feel. And that girl was beating hard and hard and hard. At some point she even removed her sweater because she's sweating, and she's beating daddy as she's talking to daddy. Daddy, why did you do this to me? Daddy, that is bad manners. Don't do. And she was really talking to daddy, the teddy bear. The first cane broke, the second one broke, the third one broke. And then she was told, now are you satisfied? Do you feel that daddy has felt the pain you wanted him to feel? Then she was like, no, I want to beat him more and more and more. They went out again with the therapist. They picked another 2 sticks. They came, she beat daddy, she beat daddy until now she surrendered on her own. And she was like, oh, good. Now he feels the pain that I felt. That is good. Now he's feeling how I felt. Hey, and then the therapist was like, hey, you have really beaten daddy. He says, yes, I wanted him to feel the pain that I was feeling. And then I was like, okay. That was whole new to me. By that time, I had not done counseling psychology, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm understanding things in different ways. And then now the session that followed that was the session of the therapist taking my girl through forgiveness and explaining to the girl that even if daddy did that to her, it is good to find forgiveness in her heart, because forgiveness is for her own good. If she continue harboring the pain of what daddy did, it's going to be toxic to her. She has to release daddy and let it go and all that. Something that surprised all of us when the therapist was going through that session, and it reached now a point, and the therapist asked the girl, do you feel like now you can forgive daddy? The girl broke into tears. She cried until we were like, what? She cried, she sobbed, she wept, she cried. She was given time to finish crying. Then she was like, and then the therapist was, why was all that? What was going through your mind when you cried? She was like, I can't imagine forgiving my daddy. I can't forgive him. He doesn't deserve my forgiveness. And the girl was bitter, and which we understand. She was bitter. She was feeling bad and very painful about it. But anyway, the therapist took control of it. They are professionals. They know how to do it. Until the girl calmed down, and the girl now understood the whole aspect of forgiving daddy. We cannot extend this session beyond there. I am coming back with another part of it. Now, the last one, to wind it up. How then did I come to a point that now I have accepted these are my babies, they are going nowhere, and I should brace myself to becoming a foster mother, something that I had not prepared for. Welcome to our next session.